Welcome to my online lesson on project management. The purpose of this activity is to introduce everybody to the basic principles of project management as a profession, and hopefully to get you guys and ladies excited about pursuing project management certification to complement your own career. So I'll give you a little bit of basic history and background first. Project management is an activity started during World War II. In response, they obviously had a lot of big problems to deal with back then in terms of supply chain management and all the things they had to do to function under stressful conditions. So project managers work with something called the body of knowledge. And the body of knowledge is a document which is maintained under the stewardship of the PMI Institute, it's the International Organization for Project Managers. And this specifies all the things that need to be done in terms of making the project work. So this is actually one of the things you're going to be working with in your activity today. Another resource I'm giving you is my PowerPoint slides for when I teach this, so you're welcome to download those. The links are in your assignment. And essentially, I'll give you a high-level overview, and for your assignment, you're probably going to want to focus on slide 32 specifically. This will help you out. So project management, body of knowledge. What they say is that a project is a temporary endeavor undertaken to produce some new or unique product or service that's never existed before. So as you walk around today and you look at all the things around you, all the food on all the stores' shelves and all the clothes, all the roads and the buildings and the electricity and the internet and government services and you'll realize that all of those at one point were a new thing that people did not have a concept of how to build. So they use the principles of project management to go from an initial requirement to getting the deliverable shipped out the door and ready for consumers to use. And project management says that we can make that happen by conceptualizing any activity as consisting of 10 knowledge areas. So there they are in slide 32. I don't know why I started that at point 4. I must have been tired when I did that because that's actually 1. So we have project management integration. That means the whole activity of putting the project together, including starting with the project charter, which is how every project starts. It specifies who your executive champion is, that is who's paying for all these great ideas, as well as, well, we start by identifying the stakeholders. We'll get into that. And then the second phase is project scope management. So we see, is it going to be like a very small project like building a house, or a very big project like building a subdivision of 1,000 houses? Then project time management, which talks about schedules and timelines and how long each activity is probably going to be in duration. We have project cost management. That's a big one. That's where most projects fail because they run out of money. So that's pretty important. Project quality management. We have quality metrics we're required for meeting, and that would vary according to the project. So imagine it's a project related to oil, energy, or resources. There would be governmental regulations for protecting the environment and so on. The work has to be done of a certain quality to make sure we don't leak oil or something like that. And then we have HR management, so we need to get all our skilled people in there and incent them the right way, give them the right bonus packages and everything so they do a good job. Project communications management talks about how we keep all of our stakeholders, and that's a term we'll come back to, but we keep all of our stakeholders up to date on what's going on. And then risk management, again, is another key one. Project procurement management, meaning getting all the right supplies, materials, and all the stuff we need, maybe real estate, maybe we need to lease or buy a building to do the project in, so that would all factor under procurement. And finally, stakeholders are the people who are involved in any way with the project. So it could be the people doing the project, the clients that we're working for, could be government regulators, lenders that are lending us the money, could be public opinion, right? The public could be a stakeholder according to whether they see it as being desirable. Maybe it's going to create new jobs or something. So anyway, I want you, as you're doing your project, maybe even want to print this slide out. That's slide 33. Okay, that's slide 33 in your slides. I would encourage you to start by looking through this whole PowerPoint because there's lots of good stuff there. This is the result of quite a few years of me curating material together. The other thing you're going to need to be familiar with is the project management body of knowledge. So this is a document, and this is maintained by the Project Management Institute. And again, you take a look at that and go and register, right? Doesn't cost anything. So you can go there and register. If you want to become a member of the PMI, that does cost. And, well, don't want to go too much into it now because we have enough other work to do. But basically, I always encourage my students, they can get a student membership. I believe it's for like $30 a year. So, you know, one time of eating pizza out. Or as a kind of a professional person, it's $130 a year. But that's quite valuable. It looks good on your resume as well as your LinkedIn. And pursuing certification as a PMP, a project management principal, is probably a very good decision for many people. So if you have questions about that, leave me a question about it in the forum, and I'll answer you about that because I want to get on with our work now. But do go ahead and register. Why not? It takes 2 minutes. It doesn't cost anything to just register, and you'll get access to lots of cool information there. For example, I encourage my students in project management. I tell them, why not go ahead and challenge the CAPM certification exam, certified associate. You don't need any work experience or anything. That's kind of the introduction of the stream. So again, any questions about that, I strongly advocate that, so I'm happy to help anybody get started on that. And let's see what your work tasking for today is. So let's go back here to our Word document. And there's some introductory material. As well, I talk about the relationship to learning theories, and I'll leave that to you to read that yourself with the invitation, the welcome to drop me a note in the forum if you want more detailed information on any of this. But here is where you need to get started. So your learning assignment. Now, I'm providing a recommended scenario for you to work on, and if you don't like it, or if you have a better one, I would say go and work with your own one. Because the intention, the purpose of this assignment is to get you to put your hands on the PM body of knowledge, to produce a project charter, which is always where we start, and then to produce planning documents for each of the 10 knowledge areas. Now, that may seem like a lot, but it's really not, because we understand that project management is an iterative process, and you always start by doing the work badly before you start doing it well, just like this assignment we're all working on. I mean, I'm sure I'm not the only one. When I started working on it, I had no real clue what to do, but then iteratively I sort of looked over it, and this is actually a good general link for the course. So I put a link here to this somewhere in your Word document, even for studying for the final exam or future reference. So these are all things that I structured because I think about doing things in a sort of a project management stance, a way of thinking about the world. So anyway, that's all stuff that's there for you. Now, in terms of your learning assignment, take another scenario or use mine, but you want to think of a situation where you would have to work with a group of people to organize some relatively complex outcome. And the scenario I'm giving you is that your company, which is a shipping and supply chain company in Mississauga, Ontario, decided they want to set up operations in Montreal. So they have tasked you and your fellow project managers to figure out how to make that happen. So assume I told you I'm hiring you and I'm paying you enough money to incent you. And 3 months from now, we need to have our Montreal branch operation working. So take blank pieces of paper and Post-it notes and figure out what are all the things that would need to happen. Well, you need to hire staff. How many staff? An initial requirement we have is that our company is anticipating moving 300 cubic meters of cargo every week. So a shipper handler with a forklift, how many cubic meters of cargo can they move per day? And how much shelf space do you need? And how many trucks do you need? And you need to lease a warehouse. And your warehouse needs to have truck bays and facilities. And maybe it needs to be near the airport. Maybe it needs to be near other trucking companies that you're working with. So all of that would seem overwhelming unless you start applying the processes of project management, in which case you would start by writing the project charter. And it's amazing fact of human mind operation, but once you write down in specific details what you need to do, it becomes less overwhelming, and that's called the project charter. And again, I would encourage you to go and research more about this in my PowerPoint, which is there. You can go and search for it, as well as in the body of knowledge, which I linked to you. So go and read about the project charter. That's one thing you're expected to provide. And you're expected to provide planning documents for each of the 10 knowledge areas. By the way, you can make up the numbers. It's okay, because the point is not to become an expert in how many trucks you need to run a warehouse. The purpose is to get you guys and ladies to put your hands on the 10 knowledge areas of the body of knowledge. So they're all here. You can go and search through that. It's a searchable PDF as well. You can keep slide 31 handy. So I'll give you one example. I'll get you started. So let's say now I've written my project charter, and it's your project charter, so how you want to write it's up to you. But my one, by the way, a project charter, if you write the CAPM exam, I'll help you out. I'll give you some of the questions. One question is, what's a project? And they say a project is a temporary endeavor undertaken to provide some new or unique product or service, something that's never existed before. Then they're going to ask you, what's the difference between a project and a process? And a process is something that happens on an ongoing basis, like you do grocery shopping every week. That's a process. You don't ever intend probably to stop doing that. It's ongoing. It has no definite start or end time, whereas a project has a definite start time, definite duration, definite end time, and a definite output, which is called the statement of work, and it also specifies who's the client or stakeholder you're working for. So that's the project charter. So you have to write that, and you're going to make up the details, obviously. And once you have that, your second tasking now is you need to get over here to your body of knowledge and working in the planning process group. So initiating process group, well, you've developed the project charter, and I just told you how to do that essentially. And then another aspect there would be identify stakeholders. So if you want, you can do that. I mean, I probably, if this was my project, I would, stakeholders initially is the company you're working for, so you're already working within a company. If it was another type of a project, maybe you were going to go out and start a new venture, you might need to figure that out. But I would say stakeholders, don't worry about it too much right now. And then move over to the planning process group. So develop your project management plan and think a little bit. Just write 3 to 4 points on each of these items. Plan scope management, and you can get back over here to my notes. So on slide 38, there's some stuff you would think about. What's scope management? Scope is like telescope or microscope. It talks about how big or how small something is. And the concept there is your scope is you're creating one branch office in one city, which I've already told you. But the reason why we always pay attention to scope is that in a less well-structured project, you might get into an issue where there's something called scope creep, and people get excited, and they make the project bigger and bigger till they make something that collapses under its own weight. So one of the roles of the project manager is to run around with a fly swatter, smacking people on the hand if they want to make the project too big. So just create a couple of points for your scope management plan and a couple of points for your schedule. So I've already told you that I want this done in 90 days as your executive champion. So you have to start with a calendar. Again, it's a 1-hour activity, so as much as you can do in 1 hour. But ideally you would start with a schedule and then backflow all of your timelines starting to today and think, what are all the things you need to do? What are all of your tasks? Rent a warehouse, rent or purchase some trucks, put job ads out and hire some skilled workers. Those would probably be the main ones. You probably will think of other ones. Then we go here to our cost overview. So again, you have to lease a warehouse. And how much does it cost to lease a warehouse for 5 years in Montreal? I'm going to tell you $75,000 a year just to save you the research. And you would need electricity and utilities and heat and all that stuff. So just write those out as line items. You don't really need to go and put specific numbers on them. Project quality. So how are we going to know the job is done well enough? Well, we have to have a warehouse in a good location, and we have to have workers of suitable skill. You might think of some other stuff there. Now notice, project management loves to talk about inputs and outputs, so pay attention to those as you're working. Then we have project resources management. So what are all the resources we would need? Communications. How are you going to communicate with all of your stakeholders? Often projects set up weekly or even daily, because this is a pretty short-term project. If it's 90 days, you might do daily conference calls, or now people do video Skype calls with all of their people. Maybe some of your project management team actually wants to go and live in Montreal for at least a couple of months. It's a nice city, why not, while you're figuring all this stuff out. So how are you going to manage communication? And there you have risk. So what are all the potential risks? And in the Word document, in the summary at the end, I give you examples of some risks, but you could think about that. So commonly with things like this, risks might be that you fail to research and secure proper government permitting. You don't get the city permits and all that stuff. So you aren't able to open on time. And if you've already rented the warehouse and hired the people, you have a risk that you're going to be paying people, can't work because you can't start your operations yet. So we think about risk management in a project. And here we have procurement management. So that would be more applicable maybe to a manufacturing operation where you're buying parts and building up something. Here, I don't know, you'd have a lot of procurement to do. I mean, again, you'd probably need trucks, maybe forklifts, crates to put stuff on the shelf, anything you think you might need to operate the business. And here we have stakeholder management. And in the new version of the BOK, that's actually called stakeholder engagement management, because we can't really manage stakeholders. It's like herding cats. So we focus on managing our engagements with them. So a stakeholder, as discussed, is anybody who has a connection or an interest in the project. Our lenders, our financial lenders, senior executives of our company, government regulators, unions. I don't know if this is like a union type of operation. Maybe you need to get some unionized employees, and you need to get your union leaders over there as stakeholders, whatever that works out to. So again, just look through these and grab 3 to 4 points for each item, because I'm anticipating that you'll do this project maybe in an hour. So a lot of the research items could be part of your project plan to go and research, and maybe even hire other staff, hire consultants, right? A lot of projects, that's why there are so many consultants out there, because they are needed on a short-term basis. So that, in essence, is what I want you to do. So now you've created your project charter, you've created your planning documents, and here is your learning activities. By the way, here, this URL is where you get to my PowerPoint, which you're welcome to take and use. And there's the body of knowledge, which is from the PMI. I just put it there to save you the time of finding it and downloading it. So you're going to be employing 4 instructional techniques. And again, all of the references in terms of how this hooks up with learning theory are detailed here in this document. But small group work. So you're going to be working with a group of people to do all this stuff, to create the project charter and to create your planning documents. So here's some case studies. I've basically in this video summarized a lot of examples, but if your team felt the need for case studies, there's some of them out there you can go and find. Role play. So obviously this whole thing is a role play, because you're role playing being project managers. So that's all the stuff you're doing. And finally, demonstration, and this component is optional since this is an online course. If you and your project team would like to video record yourself with your cell phone and upload the video, I'd be happy to give you some comments and some feedback on how to make your communication more impactful. So playing the roles of project managers, your team will present your project management collateral to the executive sponsor, which is me. You will defend your construction of the following assets as being in compliance with the standards of the body of knowledge. And again, the purpose of this is an introductory lesson, so your real mental sight picturing here, where you want to go with this, is to just understand that there is a project charter, and it leads to a work breakdown structure, which is part of your planning group. There are 10 knowledge areas, and each knowledge area consists of processes. So you see how it works here. I have my phases of the project, and that's common sense, right? I initiate the project, I plan it, and they say that every hour spent in planning saves about 100 hours in potentially misperformed execution later on, so that's really important. And then execute, which means I deliver, and that's done concomitantly with monitoring. So I have auditors who are checking all this stuff's being done properly, so I want to avoid running down the rabbit hole of useless work. And finally, there's the closing process group. So I close the project, I pay off my vendors, I reassign my HR assets, I close out, right? If I rented some building or office space to do the project, I close out all the real estate, and I close out all my financials, and I get the executive sponsor to sign off that everything's done according to their satisfaction. So that's closing. So here we have 5 phases, we have 10 knowledge areas, and then you see within each intersection of a process group and a knowledge area, these are processes, right? Like planning, scope management, and each process is generally hooked up with a document, such as you have a scope management document. In the financial area, you have your budget and your cost forecasts. In the time management area, you have your timelines and your Gantt charts, which project how you're going to be using your time. Similarly, for HR resource, you have the job descriptions of all the people you need to hire, so your recruiting team can go out and hire skilled people. So you're going to be giving me project charter and some planning documents for each of these knowledge areas, and you can go here to reference that. Good luck, have fun with it, leave me comments in the forum if you need any help with all of this stuff. And to close this out, I strongly encourage everybody to think about adding project management, even if it's just the CAPM exam initially, to your portfolio of skills you're offering employers, because the world is getting more complex. More and more companies are operating under regulatory requirements to have a certain number of project managers on their team. And more, if you go into the job interview and the interviewer asks one of the famous 5 questions, what do you want to be doing 5 years from now? I want to be a PMP. I want to be a principal project manager. Would this job support me to do that? Would you pay for my training and give me the opportunity to get relevant work experience that the PMI.org would require to see in terms of my certification? So that's that. Any questions, drop me a line, and I look forward to seeing your work. Have a great day.